Hey everybody, this is Perch. A lot of things to kind of get off my chest, my mind, things today. So we'll see how it goes. It's the morning, it's not the evening. I'm not all fired up and angry, but we may get there. When I do a video where I get a little bit more passionate about it, and I'm just angry because it's just and generally when I get angry over this topic, when I get angry and I talk to all of you about it, the anger generally stems from one place: stupidity. Mine. No, I'm kidding. It stems from the industry doing something so blatantly dumb, so clearly self destructive. And in some cases, a lot of people, sometimes creators, sometimes the fans, playing along with that. It's aggravating. I also don't like to be gaslit. It's one of my people who take things out of context. And we live in a world where there's a lot of it at the moment. So I'm recording this video, which will come out a lot faster than some of the others. We had the Gaiman bankruptcy, we had the Neil Gaiman story break, and over on Capitol Hill, you're starting to see the Trump appointees get confirmation hearings. And I'm watching one of it's the first one. It's Pete's, or the Secretary of Defense, and I'm watching these questions, and I think there are really important questions and things you need to evaluate this guy for. Does he have the qualifications to his job? Not sure. On paper, it doesn't look like it, from my opinion. But also, I don't think there's a massive list of people who are. So I think that it is a case where you got to interview the person carefully. I've hired a lot of people in my life. I've hired admins, basically the person who's going to handle my calendar, my travel schedule. And I've given them more of an interview. The frustrating part of this is, both for Republicans and Democrats, there were not questions around like, hey, you're going to be put in charge of the kind of the one of the largest buckets of money of just, of unaudited discretionary spend in the country. How are you going to audit and account for that? How are you going to spend that money? That's a question I'd want. Yeah, I don't care whether a Republican or a Democrat asks that. I'd like to have that question asked. I'd like the question asked of, hey, we have a we have a report out that says that we are underprepared for cybersecurity threats, for different kind of malicious activity from foreign entities, notably China and Russia. Like, what do we need to do to get prepared? What do we need to do for recruitment? There was a couple articles out about the families of soldiers who are serving are living kind of below the poverty line because of the pay. What do we do about that? Because that's going to be a real dent to actually getting people in the service. That's what I want to hear. I did not want to hear jokes about two genders. I didn't want to hear jokes about just a bunch of bullshit. The whole commentary around, you said on a podcast once that women can't serve. Let's spend 40% of our time on that. It's and the whole thing about his marriage, like what are we doing? What are you doing? 90% of the people on that floor are divorced, have had affairs, all the rest in Congress. So we're sitting there, we're talking to this guy. We're spending a lot of time on this, and it's just people are being gaslit again, both sides. If you watch that thing or parts of it the guy is either a inhuman misogynist monster or somebody who should be nominated for sainthood. Like, there's nothing in between. And meanwhile, the important questions about the job, are not asked. And people who've come work for me get way more of an actual interview and a grilling than that. But I digress. That's the stuff that gets me. A joke. It is something that has been a huge part of my life. The most consistent part of my life. It predates my children and my marriage. It has been a common thread. One of the only common threads in my life. And I grew up with these characters. I care about these characters. And it's not that you have to take everything deathly serious, but you should take the business serious. When you look at the events of the last couple days, okay, Gaiman going bankrupt, or having to file for bankruptcy in order to save itself, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. A lot of companies don't emerge out of bankruptcy. This is no surprise. Everybody saw it coming, and with it, I think a lot of people had an opportunity to try and repair it or make the situation better. And they can do it in different ways. You can do it by trying to strengthen Diamond. A lot of people did. A lot of publishers took a lot of runs. And for that matter, Steve Jeppy's son made a lot of attempts to modernize the business. But at the end, it just couldn't get out of its own way. It couldn't change, and the trajectory is what it is. And like I said in the other video, distribution is a very hard business to turn a profit in. And it's a hard business to get investment in because you do not get, 3x, 4x, 6x multiples on your revenue. It's typically a, 1x, 2x graded business. Stuff. The Neil Gaiman thing, again, no surprises there. And on this one, for a moment, if you can, excuse a little bit of something else that's on my mind. You're seeing a lot of people. What I'm seeing is I made a comment to somebody of like, man, it's going to be so painful to watch this whole thing play out again, where, it's going to be quiet and suddenly all these people are going to come out with their solemn voices. Like right now, there's a big, like, strange that the Beat and Bleeding Cool aren't saying anything. No, it's not strange at all. This is a buddy. But they will get to it. And when they get to it, it'll be like, in a very disappointing turn of events, we've learned that sometimes this eloquency of sometimes the people who create the most heroic, uplifting worlds cannot create those worlds for themselves and live in the shadows. And it's like, okay, again, everybody knew about this since the 90s. Everybody knew about this. This is not a surprise. And that's the part of kind of the gaslighting. But I'm telling this friend, I'm like, it's going to be really aggravating to see that pattern roll out. And then most likely you're going to start to see people go, well, Neil did nothing wrong. Those women are a bunch of whores. And then you're going to get that argument going. And it's like, at what point are all of you sick of that merry-go-round? To me, if you are a comic book fan, if you like comic books, if you enjoy comic book stories, aren't you tired of this? You've got to be tired of this by now, right? Like, I don't like reading and watching the same show for the rest of my life. And it feels like we're trapped in that. But for what it's worth, and it's a topic I could go into more depth with, but it also feels kind of gross to do so. I've seen, people start to make the comparison or at least stack the three together. In this case, Gaiman, Warren Ellis, and Ed Piscor. And it's worth noting that those three are radically different. And anyone who tells you otherwise is absolutely full of shit. Those three are very, very different. In one case, in Gaiman's case, you have a long, long history. Again, lots of people in the 90s talked about this, and these are allegations. So he should not be condemned. We're not going to go out and run out and cancel him. But this isn't a case of like something came up and we need to hear the other side of the story. Like, we've heard this story and we've heard his comments on this story 30 years ago on parts of this. This was funny. This was a joke. This was the rock star lifestyle. His words. You can call him anything. I mean, but scumbag, definitely fits it. And on top of that, this is a guy who came out aggressively and labeled other people as being rotten, awful, terrible people. So that's him. Ellis, on the other hand, I know you guys disagree with me, and quite frankly, I believe in being candid with you. When somebody posts something like Ellis did nothing wrong, it's like an intelligence test for me. It's like, I'm sorry. He did do something wrong. Now, did he do something wrong at the level of Gaiman? No, absolutely not. But the thing that gets me there is, I've said this before, you have a guy that for years pulled these kind of stunts on message boards, and everyone was okay with it. And when I say everyone, I mean people within comics, all the people who brought out the torches, the Tess Fowlers and the Alex DeCampis and the Heidi McDonalds and the Rich Johnstons, were all cool with it 10 years ago. No problems here. In fact, found it funny, wanted to get into the club, wanted to be part of the party. All of them. And, a lot of the fans who now are like, no, he's a hero, thought he was a complete prick, mostly because Ellis was making fun of them and calling them trolls and incels and everything else. That was what was going on. So these two groups reversed, which I just find fascinating. There's no moral conviction there. But, Ellis's big sin was that he used his status to try and get laid. And again, that's not like the worst thing in the world. If you have a daughter, you wouldn't want your daughter in that situation. But like, should the guy go to jail? No. But you're not going to hold this guy up as like a hero of morality either. And then you have Ed Piscor, and with Ed, like you have a guy who I think called somebody a dirty girl once. Like that's his crime. My point is these three are not the same. And I'm tired of, I had a conversation with somebody in comics who's kind of very aggressively like, no, I mean, these things are the same. You actually can't make like you shouldn't make, I've had people tell me you shouldn't make nice comments about Ed because, it doesn't play well with the other creatives. So fuck off. But seriously, what is this? And I am tired of having to dance around a bunch of people, either current comic people or people who are out of comics trying to make a living outside of it, who want to control the way you talk. I talk how I talk. I've earned that right. Most of you listening to this probably have. But everything I'm saying right now, I hope people realize it is toxic to the enjoyment of comics, to that throughput in my life, and I'm sure with many of you. I don't want to think about Mark Waid's politics. I want to read a Superman comic. I don't want to think about what Warren Ellis did. I'd like to have some fond memories of Next Wave because I did enjoy that when it came out. I'd like to not think about, am I saying something uncomfortable? I'm sorry that I lost my pass to the big what is appropriate as a comic comment group where I go and I get my talking points of what's okay to be upset about and what's not. Are we okay to talk about how Diamond is bankrupt now? Are we okay to talk about that? Because for years, saying things like, I don't think they run their business well, was met with ooh, you can't say that, or, oh, I see Hitler is in the room. And look how well that worked out for us. Okay? With look at the editor over at DC. You know the one I'm talking about. Oh, we can't. You shouldn't talk. Like you can't say that he's doing dodgy behavior. You can't talk about that. Okay, now it's time. We've all got together and we've discussed, and now we determined it's okay to call him a creep. Sure. Some of these Marvel editors out there, we can't say anything about them. We can't call out the bad behavior. We can't call out the barcode. We can't call out some of the stuff they've done. We can't call out the, having drinks with a bunch of kind of young female fans and lining up 12 shots in front of them. No, it's just having fun. Is that it's her choice to drink the drinks after all. Yeah, okay, but let's not pretend we don't know what's going on there. But no, that's totally fine. If you call out that kind of bad behavior, you're clearly somebody who is a rotten person who hates comics. And we can't recommend that channel. We can't talk to that guy. We'd have to distance itself. And then one day it's like, well, some people got together and literally like, is there a meeting? Is there they go to a hotel room at the Renaissance Inn in Topeka and, Heidi and Alex and, Tess and who knows what other yokels are in that room, Joseph Illidge, who's in that, and they all stand together like, all right. As we all know, this industry is filled with a bunch of creeps in a lot of cases. And there's good people in there, but those people are boring and vanilla. So we need to determine which of the creeps are going to loudly support and overlook the bad behavior and which ones we're going to actually go after this year. Who are we going after? I'm joking, but it feels like that meeting is happening because it doesn't make any sense otherwise that you have, again, with Ellis, you have a guy who is loudly backed and supported by people in comics. And it's like, oh shit, hang on. He's getting money from Netflix and he's not bringing all of us. All right. Knives out. Now he's a pervert. Now we have to, we're going to, if I'm Rich Johnson, somebody call up Rich and let him know that he's going to need to publish an article on Ellis every day for the next 3 months to make sure he's well and buried. That fucker should have given us some of his Netflix money. Honestly, that's how it feels this thing is working. And I've said this before, and I get the, Perch is an industry shill label from the other group of jackasses, but the shame of all this is there are amazing comic characters and there are amazing comic creators who are just coming in every day and trying to get shit done. We've interviewed lots of them on this channel. They have opinions on all this stuff, but their number one goal is to make comics. Their number one priority is like, I would like to get paid. I would like to maybe have health insurance at some point. I would like to, my dream is to work on Spider-Man. So I hope I get to work on Spider-Man someday. Like, I turn in my scripts on time and I draw my shit. And when I go to a convention, even though it's exhausting and the noise in that place drives you crazy and it's 3 days and it's too hot and I'm trying to sell some crap and I got people coming in and I'm trying to just juggle all this stuff. Then I'm going back to a hotel room and all my buddies are at the hotel bar until like 2 a.m, just trying to destroy their livers as fast as humanly possible. But I'm going to rally. And on the last day, a fan's going to come up and basically ask why I support, Biden over Trump, and I'm going to snap at him. And then that's going to dominate social media for the next 3 months that I'm a asshole. Fuck, who wants that life? You have to be damn committed to comics to just endure comics. It really speaks to the people who are out there who love these characters, who love this storytelling, who love putting all this stuff together. And there's lots of them out there. It really speaks to their character, their perseverance, their strength, and how amazing of people they are that they're able to go in week by week and put up with this bullshit in order to write their story about Spider-Man. And so when you get a nice creator, and there's lots of them out there, and maybe every now and then they're a little sarcastic or a little salty, but they're doing their damnedest to get shit going. So you got to separate them from the true assholes who sit around wondering, okay, is this the year we're going to cancel Jim Lee? That guy's got some skeletons in his closet. So is this the year we're going to fuck him over? And by the way, let's all police each other. Say, oh yeah, you can't talk about this person, can't talk about that person. It's just, it is exhausting. Anyway, it's been a hell of a week. How about for you?